Hey guys, Chris here. Tonight we have a story about a wildlife biologist in Colorado who's tasked to go to the bottom of the Black Canyon of the Gunnison to do some research on a solo trip. And there she finds something not only frightening but dangerous as she has to flee for her life. That's next. Okay, you guys, I am along the Carson River in Nevada here, and we got some really nice forest around us and the river behind me, and I have a beer tonight. It is the Shoe Tree Brewing Company out of Carson City, Nevada here. This is the Brunswick Blonde Ale, and that is a 5.0 ABV, and that is a 1 pint on that thing. Here's what it says. Brunswick Blonde Ale was brewed to be clean, crisp, and crushable. This beer will invoke memories of heading to the hills and laughing around a fire with your buds while throwing back some cold beers. So there you go. Priority. And let's give that a crack here. Ooh, not too bad. Let's see what it looks like. Yeah, that sun is going down fast. Oh, very blonde. Almost clear. Look at that. I'm going to take it right out of the can. There we go. Like the old, looks like an old Ford pickup on there. Ooh, really smooth. Wow. Very, almost citrusy at the end there on the finish. It goes down really smooth though. Not real hoppy, very blonde tasting, and almost like a sparkling water with a little kick to it or something. So there you go. That is the Brunswick Blonde Ale. So cheers. Our story takes place in Colorado, western Colorado, and here is one of the least visited national parks in all of Colorado. It's called the Black Canyon of the Gunnison River. This immense, deep gorge that runs for 12, 14 miles within the park, and then upstream from there, the canyon continues. This park was set aside in 1933 as a national monument, and then 1999 as a national park. And this canyon at Warner Point is 2,724 feet deep. Just incredible. There's a point where the canyon gets 40 feet wide. Not very wide. And it's known for being very deep and dark, and most of the people spend their time on the rim of the canyon, kind of like the Grand Canyon. There's a north and south rim, and this canyon gets 33 minutes of daylight in a single day. That's it. And I'm assuming that's the peak of summer, because this time of year when the sun is so low on the southern horizon, it does not get any light. This is what I found in a book. The several canyons of the American West are longer and some are deeper, but none combine the depth, sheerness, narrowness, darkness, and dread of the Black Canyon. Inside this canyon is a wall that's 2,250 feet sheer wall. Just a single wall that's over 2,000 feet tall. The Native Americans that lived there, the Ute Indians, described it as this deep and terrifying place, and their superstitions about this place kept them from going into it. And this is where, in 2003, Jenny, who was working for the Colorado Parks and Wildlife as a wildlife biologist, she was tasked to go down into this river during the course of that summer and do her fish counts and check on the fish for disease and their spawning and whatever wildlife biologists do. And she was doing this solo trip down there. And in this canyon is rainbow trout, brown trout, and they say up to 9,000 fish per mile, which is really incredible. It's an incredible fishery. And fishermen go down there, but it's a lot of work to go down this steep canyon and get to the bottom and then fish, and then you have to work your way all the way up at the end of the day. But in August of that year, Jenny was to go down there and do her research for the Colorado Parks and Wildlife, and she was kind of dreading it. This was going to be her third trip of the season, her last trip, and she just wasn't looking forward to it. Just thinking about the long hike down, and she had to stay a night or two to even make it worthwhile, because by the time you got to the bottom and did your work, you just didn't have enough time to go back up, so it was just easier to spend the night or even 2 nights down there and just get your work done, be done. So she got her gear together, got kind of psyched up for this trip, and she remembered how hard it is to get down to this bottom of this canyon. At some points, you almost have to slide in your bottom to get down there. She packed her pack up, she put her inflatable kayak in there, which really helped with her research, and she made her way down the canyon. It's a good mile plus to get down there, 2,000 foot drop, and she gets to the bottom and she expects to see fishermen down there, doesn't see any fishermen, and she's looking for a spot amongst the box elders and cottonwoods, kind of like here, they got the cottonwoods along the river, and finds a spot, the sandy beach, puts her tent up, and she sees how low the river is. The river's really low, it's late in the season, kind of like here, and she thought, why did I even bring this kayak? But she decided to inflate it anyways, put that next to her tent, just kind of do her normal routine. And she finished up her work for the day. She did some netting and wrote some things down and photography and whatever else these biologists do. And she's looking at the canyon and the environment and the time of year. It's late August and it got dark really early in there. And she's seeing the trees are starting to change color, and there's a somber mood that she's feeling about where she's at. And she almost has this sense of loneliness kind of come over her. And it's very overpowering, and it's starting to affect her, and she decides to just put her campfire out, put her long johns on, and just kind of get ready to go to sleep. And she's thinking about her day and how her mood was kind of affected by, she didn't know what, but just the feeling like the seasons are changing and it's just dark and it's cold and she's by herself. She waited for nightfall and she could see it was getting dark, and then the darkness just almost like it thickened up, and she looked up between the canyon walls and she could see this almost like a belt of stars above her, and the sheer walls just massive above her, and it was a stunning sight. But she had this overpowering feeling come over her, and she felt like she was in a giant coffin, and some giant lid was going to slowly close over the top of it by a giant hand. Just a really somber word picture. She thought, I just got to go to bed and just call it a day. Goes in the tent, gets in a warm, cozy sleeping bag. She's nice and dry and warm. And she's laying there. And then she thinks about it and she goes, oh my gosh. Jenny thought, today was my sister's birthday and I forgot it. She spent the whole day just having this mood, and she forgot her sister's birthday. Her sister Lucy had passed away in a tragic motorcycle accident 1 year earlier, that year in 2003. And she felt bad for forgetting her sister's birthday. Not like there's anything she could have done about it, but she wanted to remember her sister on that day. And she remembered her sister, and she just felt it was having a hard time. She missed her a lot, and she always remembered her sister believed in her, cared for her, and it was an older sister, and she was like a mentor to her, to Jenny. And Lucy always told her, you can do whatever you want, whatever you believe in, whatever you think, you can do it. And she was always there for her, and it was just a loss for Jenny in her life. All right, I changed locations. There were some people coming down, and I am straight out of there. Okay, so as she dozed off, she felt happy that she remembered her sister's birthday, at least at the very end of the day. And she remembered the last thing she heard was this distant howl up the canyon rim right before she fell asleep. Didn't know what it was, just assumed a coyote. Sometime early in the morning, it had to be 4 a.m., she woke up and just had this sudden urgency in her chest and in her heart. And she heard voices outside of her tent. Really strange. And then it sounded like her sister, Lucy. And she was shaking her head like, this has got to be a dream. This is really weird. And Lucy said, Jenny, get up. Get in the kayak. Get out of there while you have a chance. And she said, Lucy, why would I do that? That's dangerous to get into the kayak in the middle of the night. This is the Gunnison River. It's dangerous out there. And then she heard, no, Jenny, you need to go now. This thing is coming for you. You're in grave danger. And right then, she heard this howl. It was louder now, and it was closer. It appeared to be coming down the canyon. She sat up, and she's thinking, this can't be. This is like, maybe like one of those waking nightmares where you're awake, but you're still having this nightmare, and you're almost like you're waiting to wake up. And then she heard this voice again. Jenny, you have to go now. And so she heard this howling, and she heard her sister, and she thought, whether this is my subconscious talking to me or some spiritual thing or whatever this is, there seems to be an urgency. There's a reality to this sound, this howling sound coming towards me. She got up, put her jacket on, got her keys, her phone, hat and gloves, and she stepped out of the tent, and she's looking around, she's listening, and then she hears that howl again, and it's even closer. She grabs the kayak, drags it on the sand to the shore of the Gunnison River, 4 a.m., and it was the scariest thing she'd ever done in her life, is thinking, I have to either go down this river or face whatever is coming. And I seem to have got a warning from either my subconscious or my sister. She can hear something moving in the trees somewhere behind her tent. Takes the kayak, starts to push it out, gets in it, paddles down the stream. The current catches her and carries her down the river. She immediately starts paddling to the other shore, and she's going at an angle to get to an eddy to pull over. Fortunately, she gets across, pulls in. She's sitting there in the darkness. She can look up and see the stars. There's a moon that's supposed to be coming up a little bit later. It's pretty dark, but she can see just enough around the river and the riverbed. She can hear something over where her camp is. This scuffling and this movement and this loud grunting. Like something's dismantling her camp. She's in this kayak in the darkness, listening to this, feeling she's fortunate to be on the other side of the river from whatever this is. It does not sound like a coyote or a bear. And then it's quiet. And she's sitting there for almost 10 minutes thinking, maybe this thing left, maybe it's gone, whatever this was. But then she knows it's not true, it can't be. Whatever it was came all the way down, and it had to be over somewhere near her camp. She's sitting in her kayak in the darkness. Moon is just starting to come out over the edge of the canyon. And she hears this loud splash about 50 feet away. She can't see anything. She just hears this deep, loud splash in the river. Startles her. She's thinking, okay, I might have to start heading downstream. I can't get out here. I got to do something. She's sitting there, and then she hears another splash. This time she can see the splash. It's out in the middle of the river, 20 feet away. She knows she has to leave now. It's flee or die. She just feels this thing is after her. She pushes off from the eddy, gets out in the current. The current starts pulling her downstream. She's paddling, guiding it through the rocks. And she can hear behind her another splash. Right then, she looks over at the far bank, and she can see something emerge from the forest and step down into the river. This large human shape. Just a silhouette, just massive shape, massive shoulders, this tiny head. And it's in the water up to its knees. And she's heading down the river, and she has to keep her eye on what she's doing. And she's thinking, with this inflatable kayak, it's great because it's like a leaf floating down the river. It's so light, and with her in it. But one wrong hit on a sharp rock, and it could be the end of her. Before she knows it, she hits this rock pretty hard, goes sideways, corrects it, and she's just waiting with grit teeth like this thing's going to start deflating. She's going to go down. It doesn't. The thing holds up, and she navigates through these rocks. She's going downstream, and she can hear off behind her this howl again. It's like this thing is following her. And she can hear this sound, this eerie howling, this low to high pitch, woo, like that, echoing off the canyon walls. And this canyon, again, is just so massive and so deep. It's just almost terrorizing itself, just the canyon. She's navigating these rocks, going through the river. There's just enough light to kind of see things before she slams into rocks. And then she hears up ahead, sounds like a waterfalls or rapids. And she's feeling this sense of doom. Like, this is it. Okay, I can't do everything. I got so much going on, and now we got rapids coming up. This is insane. And she's thinking, okay, I got to get off the river. I have to get off the river, and I have to get off the side where this thing is, and the side that I came down and camped on, because that's the only way to get out. I can't go on the other side and try to get out. So she works her way and paddles as hard as she can against the current to break free and get to the other shore. She can see there's a sandbar there. It's about 20, 30 feet long. She pulls in, gets out, steps out up to her knees. She's wet. She's exhausted. She's frightened. Pulls the kayak out of the river. And she's thinking, okay, now what? Now what do I do? And she said, Lucy. That's all she had was Lucy. What can I do? What do I do now? I got rapids. I got this thing coming. And I can't get out of the canyon. What do I do? And she heard this voice, whether it was audible or in her head, but it just said, keep going. Just keep going. Go up the canyon. You'll get out. You have to get out. She says, okay. And she looks up and she just sees it looks impossible for her to get out of this canyon. And some of these walls are just sheer. This certain stretch, it looked like possibly a draw or a drainage. She looks down at this sandbar and she can see that there's some footprints. There's just enough light, and the sun is going to be coming up in a little while. It's about 5 a.m. And she sees footprints, like human footprints, like, okay, maybe there were some people here. Maybe they came down from up above, possibly fishermen, people checking out the river, whatever. And she followed him, and she could see, looks like some of them went up this drainage. It looked really steep at first, pretty good pitch to it. And she thought, this is all I can do. And so she turned back, looked at her kayak, and she could hear up the river something coming down the river, this Bigfoot. She now knew it was a Bigfoot. And she could hear it grunting and coming down the shore of the river in the water. She went out, took her kayak, slid it out into the river, and just watched it go out and catch the current, start moving. She thought maybe, if she's lucky, this thing will see the kayak and follow it. Give her a chance to get away. She quickly goes across the sandbar, up this slope. And it's a pretty good pitch, and she's got to kind of climb and dig, and there's weeds and lots of rocks, and she pulls herself up, and it kind of levels out, and there's this good-sized boulder there, and she's about 30 feet up above. And she thinks, I got to get behind this and hide. Because if I keep climbing, this thing will either hear me or see me climbing if it comes by. So she went behind this rock and waited. Just a few minutes later, she could hear the water, this splashing in the water, coming down the river. This thing was running down the river, right where she had been, and she saw it go by, and she saw this huge hulking mass, this very muscular figure with these long arms swinging, and this dark fur, black, maybe brown, it was hard to really tell, and it looked like possibly a big rock in its hand. Just one of the hands had this big shape in it, and she saw it run past as she's peeking around this rock, and she stayed back. And down below where the sandbar was, there was this cliff that went around, and this thing went past that. And she thought, maybe, just maybe, it's going after this kayak that she put in the river. She quickly turns, starts her ascent up this slope. She knows it's going to be about a mile or more to get to the top, if she's lucky. And this is filled with boulders and grasses, and she's climbing up and slipping, and it's this draw that's got all this gravel in it, and she's working her way up, and her adrenaline's just pumping, and she just doesn't care about her body. She just wants out. She's not worried about pacing and anything like that. She's just feeling this something behind her pursuing her. She continues up, and she gets to this point where it just barely levels out, and she looks up, and she can see there's more boulders, and the rim has got to be up there. And she's thinking, if she can get to the rim of this canyon, up above is this network of roads that go along the rim of the canyon, and there's a series of overlooks for the tourists to look down into the canyon, kind of like the Grand Canyon of the Colorado in Arizona with all the overlooks. And she's thinking, if she can get up there, there'll be people, parking lots, rangers going by, and there's even a ranger station up there somewhere. And she knew she was on the right side of the river. And just as she was about to continue going up, she could hear some movement way down below her. It sounded like this thing was pursuing her and coming up the draw that she was in. And she thought again, Lucy, what do I do? This thing is not stopping. And she thought, she didn't hear Lucy's voice, but she just had this idea of, like, for whatever it's worth, what if I was to just push some rocks and just maybe start a landslide or just some boulders, and if anything, to send a message that she's fighting back. So she saw this one rock on a steep pitch just below where she was. She goes and she puts her foot on it. She's laying back and she's pushing with all her might. And this thing was in the soil, and then it slowly dislodged, and then it slid and started to roll. And she could hear it heading down the drainage towards the river and bringing other rocks with it. She quickly turned and continued up. She didn't even want to wait and see what was going to happen. She thought, just at least I gave it a shot to try to fight back. She's working her way through these boulders, just boulder after boulder, and finally gets to the top. Looks back, doesn't hear anything, doesn't see anything. Sun is coming up on the horizon. It's got to be 5:30, 5:45, maybe later. And she starts hiking. Keep hiking. And she finds the road, and she knows to the left is where her vehicle would be. To the right is one of the overlooks. And she gets on the road, and she starts walking along the road, heading to the right, because she thinks that overlook is closer. A couple of cars go by, and nobody stops. And she can see up ahead one of the overlooks, the turnoff for the parking lot and the sign. And then up behind her pulls up a park ranger in his vehicle. She's dehydrated, she's exhausted, she's feeling just emotionally drained. And the ranger gets out and he steps up and he says, "Whoa, it looks like you saw a ghost." And she didn't know what to say. She didn't want to start discussing Bigfoot. She's working for the Colorado Parks and Wildlife, and word gets out that she saw a Bigfoot. It could affect her career. And then she thought, well, maybe I could say I was in my kayak early this morning and I got dumped out and I had to crawl out of the canyon. Then she thought she sounded incompetent, and she was just thinking about what she could say. And she just said, I was just really having a hard time. And she was trying to come up with something. And then right then she could hear, and the park ranger heard, down in the canyon, this distant howl. And the park ranger kind of looked, and they looked at her, and without saying words, they almost like had an understanding that she had been through something that she really didn't want to discuss, but he kind of had an idea. So Jenny got a ride back to the parking lot where her vehicle was, drove home. The next day she called in sick, and then the next week she took some time off. And she really did not want to go back. She knew it was her last trip of the summer to go into the Black Canyon. And she didn't know what to do about her next season. She was working for the Colorado Parks and Wildlife, and she was just really hoping she wouldn't have to ever go back. And the next year, they signed her to a different area of the state. She was really happy about that. She thought about her sister and what she had heard in the warning. She didn't know what to make of it. She never heard her sister's voice like that again. And she thought maybe there was this powerful, almost a spiritual connection to her sister. Maybe it was partly subconscious. And just this warning to get up and move. She didn't know what it was, but she was just glad that she listened to it. And she was also glad that she never had to go back to the Black Canyon of the Gunnison again. And that is our story from the river here. Not as steep as that canyon she was in. Oh my gosh, that is just, I've seen the pictures. It's just, you're looking straight down. I really like to check that park out sometime. It looks amazing. It looks awesome. I don't know about hiking down to it and hiking back up, but it'd make some great views. So, all right, you guys, I am have to do a little hike to get out of here. Not a big deal, but thank you for watching, and I always appreciate you guys watching my channel. It's been really fun just to come up with new locations to film and the stories, and you guys are enjoying it and I'm enjoying it. So I really thank you guys. I get the comments have been great. You guys are so awesome and so supportive of what I do. So I really, really appreciate that. You have no idea. And I don't take it for granted either. So So if you like what I do, you guys know what to do. Like, subscribe, all that fun. So I still got some beer left. Oh my gosh. And I should have turned this light on earlier. It's nice and it's a warm feeling to it. There's my last of the beer. So, all right, you guys, we will see you on the next one. As always, keep hiking.